All right, everyone, we're gonna go ahead and get started. Here you go, Ms. Fonzie. Take a second, you're good. Thank you everyone for coming. I know the weather is not ideal tonight, so for everybody joining on Zoom, hi, everyone in here, hello. I see mostly familiar faces. There's a couple that I don't recognize, but if you don't know me, my name is Lily. I'm the president of the Pre-PT Club, and this is Tanzi. She is our vice president. So go ahead and just sit back. If you have any questions, go ahead and feel free to interrupt me. We're going to be just going kind of overview of what we did last semester, and then a look forward of what's to come for this semester. All right. Oh, cool. That's not working. Perfect. Okay, so if you are a new member this semester and you have not filled out the new member form, go ahead and scan this QR code. It'll be up probably 3 more times this Zoom. So it'll take you to our link tree. It'll say new member form for spring. Go ahead and fill it out. That way we can add you to our mailing list for our emails. So you can get the Zoom recording, get the information, and then any announcements that we have, you'll be getting those. Also, if you're not following the Instagram, please do. That is where we do everything. So if we have a room change or a time change or we're sending out information about some info session somewhere, that's where it's going to be. So if you don't have Instagram, I'm sorry, but if you do, please follow us. Oh, sorry. Did everybody get a chance to snatch that if you needed to? Okay. Okay, so today we're going to go through and meet the board. We did have a couple changes this semester, so make sure that everybody knows who we are. We are your main source of information. We're here to answer all of your questions and help you on the path to being a PT, as we are all hoping to do. We're going to review the information we went over in the fall semester. It's going to be just a lot of blabbing. If you have questions, please interrupt me. It is not all inclusive. It's mostly just like generic, what I think you need to know the most. And then our goals and our future plans for this semester. Any questions so far? Okay. Just checking. So let's meet the board. This is me. I'm Lily. I'm the president.
Hi, this is me. I'm the vice president this semester.
All right. Hi, I'm Peyton. I'm the treasurer. Hi, I'm Leah. I'm the secretary.
Publicist.
Hi guys, I'm Alvin of the community outreach.
So your emails, it's all that guy. All right, so our goals, that's supposed to be a good thing. Our goals, basically our goals for this club is we are your main resource. So we want to be able to teach you more about physical therapy and how to be a good applicant for DPT school based on the information that we know, and to create a community. So there are quite a few pre-PT people, but in the grand scheme of things, we are like maybe 0.5% of this campus. So it is nice to like have people going through the same thing, whether you're a freshman or whether you're a graduating senior. It's nice to know people who are going through the same things that you are and share those connections, that share all the resources that we have. We also provide networking with that. So we provide resources for like volunteer or paid opportunities for PT, whether that's hands-on experience or just like shadowing. We try to give you guys as much information as we can to help you become a good applicant. Okay, so what even is PT for those of you who might not know? According to the American Physical Therapy Association, physical therapy is treatment provided by a physical therapist or a PTA, which is a physical therapist assistant, that helps people improve their movement and physical function, manage pain and other chronic conditions, and recover from and prevent injury and chronic disease. So we kind of do a lot. So a couple, any questions so far? Okay, I'm gonna try and rapid fire this information. I know it's just like word vomit on the screen, but last semester we did dive deeper into what the different specialties are in PT. So there's not just sports PT, it's not just orthopedics. There's a bunch of different types of physical therapy that you can get into, and doctorate programs usually will cover a little bit of this throughout your 3 years in DPT school, but a few of these are cardiopulmonary, geriatrics, which is our older population, neurological, women's health, which has a lot to do with like pelvic floor, postpartum, things like that. Women's health is also / pelvic floor therapy because it is all inclusive for genders. It's not just for women. Pediatrics, which is kids, orthopedics, sports, wound management, which is very interesting. There's only like 1% of PTs are in mood management, but it's for people who are recovering from fires and things like that. It's very, very interesting. Oncology, which is cancer stuff, and clinical electrophysiology. There's also a couple more, but these are probably the main ones that you'll see. There's things like hippotherapy as well, which is with horses, and aquatic therapy, which is in the water. So yeah, there's a lot that you can do with PT.
Okay, so some common prereqs, there are quite a bit, but so we have anatomy, physiology, general chemistry, and this is like a series, so you have to take the first part and the second part, biology, general physics, psychology. So this one, it just depends on the program. Most of them will require at least one, but sometimes, like I know for USC, they require like multiple, like two, I think. So you can take an intro class that usually is gonna cover the like main requirement, and then you can take an additional psych class, which can be like abnormal psych or development through life stages, which are offered here at Long Beach. And then also 1 semester of statistics. So this table right here, it's basically the course numbers that we have here at Long Beach that are equivalent to the prereqs. Let me see what was I gonna say. Yeah, I think that's pretty much it. It's better just to look at each program to see if there's any other specific requirements. But the good thing with DPT programs is that they're pretty standard, like in terms of prereqs. So if you hit most of these, you're on the right track.
I will say specifically one of the common state programs in California is San Diego State. They do require microbiology or an upper division bio. So these bios 211 and 212 that we have here at Long Beach, you have to take bio 300, I believe it is, to be general microbiology. That would count as an upper division for SDSU. So again, it varies from program to program. Just keep an eye on it. If you have specific questions about a specific program you're interested in, feel free to ask us. I have scoured multiple programs and online sites and what requires what. So if you need assistance with that, feel free to ask.
And the other thing I was going to add is you want to make sure that you're taking the labs for most of these in person, because I've had like a couple of friends who they were doing it like post COVID. They took like anatomy or physio. It's common for students to take them online over summer. But if it's not an in-person lab, if it's online, then most schools won't count it. So you might have to retake it if you do that route. So just make sure that you're checking with the program. But in general, if you can take the lab portion in person, that's probably your best bet.
Also, take anatomy in person. Don't try to do it online. I had to in 2020. It was horrible. So if you can take it in person, please do. Any questions on this? I know this is probably a bulk of what we help out with is like finding prereqs because we are still in our undergrad. So, okay. Just checking. Is there anything in the chat? Okay, perfect.
Okay, so program specifics, basically what we were talking about earlier, but each program will vary slightly, so make sure you look at their websites. I have these pictures here just to show you that it can be presented a little bit differently. Like this one is for Western University, so you can see that they have it a little bit more extensive. They've listed out what counts, if it can be an intro course or not, how many like semester or quarter system. And then that one is Marymount, and then this one is USC. So sometimes they'll just kind of list it out in a bullet point, and it's very general. So if you have like a specific question, or if you want to know if like for example, like an elective course that you took here at Long Beach counts for one of their requirements, then you can always like just send them an email. The admissions program is like very good at responding back. So because I've done that before. But yeah, so they'll always have it listed on their program website. So just make sure you're referencing that.
The biggest thing here is check the website of each program, because otherwise you'll be like me and have to take a gap year because you missed one. So just keep an eye on it. Another big part of application process is the GRE. Not all schools require this, but I will say most California schools do, all the state schools do. So if more than likely, just plan to take it. This is a very short synopsis of what the GRE actually is, but in general, the test is an hour and 58 minutes long. It used to be 3 hours and 45 minutes, I believe. So we're lucky now. Think of this test as like the college level SAT. I'm studying for it right now. It's not fun. But at least it's not 4 hours anymore. We have 2 sections of verbal reasoning. We have 2 sections of quantitative reasoning, which is like your math portion. And then there's an analytical writing section, which is 30 minutes. Each one, to give kind of a brief, there's a 21 and 28-minute section for verbal, and then a 21 and 28-minute section for quantitative. So and then the order of that kind of varies, but there's only X amount of questions. It's kind of a short test. To be a competitive, like highly competitive with this, you are wanting to get at least a 300, which is combined for verbal reasoning and quantitative reasoning. So 150 for both or above that. And then a 4.0 for analytical writing. I know that was a very brief synopsis. If you have questions on the GRE, feel free to come ask me. We can do a deep dive for you. We have the whole presentation. I can also send it to you if you weren't here last semester for that one. Any questions on any of this so far? Okay. Like I said, it's kind of going to be word vomiting today, and I apologize for that.
Alrighty, so observation hours, this is another very important component of your application for DPT schools. So most programs require at least 40 hours. So the number of hours is going to vary, honestly, very greatly between program to program. But in general, they require at least 40. I would aim for, I know some require like 100, or sometimes they'll say, or not require, but they'll say highly recommend or something like that. I would just consider that as required because your most competitive applicants are going to have that and more. And then they also really value a diversity of settings. So a lot of students generally just do outpatient because that's the easiest to get into when you're starting out as an undergrad, and also the easiest to get like volunteer or paid positions. So it's great. It's great experience and you should definitely do it, but also try to go into different settings if possible. We're going to help you guys with that and give you guys some recommendations, but there's inpatient, outpatient, acute care, and there's like, honestly, like we said, there were so many different specialties. So the more that you can expose yourself to, the more hours you can collect, the more people you, PTs you can interact with, is just going to help you and your application. And also paid and volunteer hours are viewed equally for DPT schools. So any chance, any experience that you can get, it's going to be super, super important. And then, yep, diversify. Most schools require just one setting, but the more you get, the better. So yeah, this is just an example. So if you have 80 hours of ortho and 20 hours of acute care, that's going to look much better than just 100 hours of ortho, because it tells the DPT program that like you are actually really interested in this profession and you've exposed yourself to the different settings that they can work in. So it just shows it's going to highlight you as an applicant for DPT programs.
And I have one thing that's not on here that I just want to note: observation hours must be completed under a licensed DPT. So it can't be like a PA, it can't be an MD, it has to be under a DPT. I will say the application doesn't exactly verify that it was under a DPT. They're not going to like look up every single person's like, oh, they got signed by this. But if they do look it up and you're not under a DPT, then you're automatically out. So just make sure your hours are under a licensed PT.
And the other thing is you're gonna have to usually get like a recommendation letter from a PT. So it's better that if you're shadowing or observing, it's gonna be under a licensed PT.
Yeah. Any questions on this? I know this is pretty much a good chunk of like what we try to do, give you guys as a club, is opportunities for observation hours. So if you guys have any questions about this, feel free to come send us an email or anything like that. Okay. All right, so speaking of letters of recommendation, most programs require 3 letters. Some say an option of a 4th, but most are 3 from what I've seen. One of these is going to be an academic letter of recommendation, so that's going to be from a professor that you've worked closely with. There's going to be one from a licensed PT that you worked under. Usually it could be a volunteer, paid or a paid position. It doesn't matter. Just when you are getting those observation hours, do your best to try and build a repertoire with at least one therapist, because that way you can come back later and be like, hey, can you write me a letter of rec? And you want that person to know you a little bit, not just they would be a good applicant for a PT school because they're hardworking. You want a little bit more than that. You want to be able to stand out, right? And then the third is usually, it can be a work reference, an old employer, another PT. If you have a lot of the time, especially for like small clinics, a boss is also a PT, so that can count as that third letter of recommendation, because they can see you as like an employee and also as a licensed DPT. As far as I know, it's not like they weigh it differently. As long as you have one academic, one PT, and then your third, it's not going to be like, oh, they got a second PT, you're ranked higher. As far as I know, it's not like that. But again, what do I know? But I don't think it's like that. As long as you have one professor, one DPT, and then that third letter of rec. So a big question that we always get is, when do you ask for a letter of recommendation? It is highly recommended that you give your reference at least 6 weeks before you're turning in your application. I don't know if you guys have ever emailed a professor. You probably have. I don't know if you've ever emailed a professor 2 days go by, 3 days go by, 4 days go by, your due date is coming up and they still haven't responded. Now imagine a letter of rec. There's nothing to gain from that from them. So please give them ample time. They're busy. You're probably have to email them 15 times for it. Especially if it's a kin professor. Yeah, we all know Ducharme, he doesn't get back to his emails. Right? So just make sure you're on them a little bit about it, but give yourself time for that. And then start making connections with your DPTs and your professors as soon as you can. I will say it's not that they rank letters of recommendation differently based on who it comes from, because they can't hold that against you, I would hope. But try to get the letter of recommendation from a professor from one of those core prereq classes. So a bio class, a physics class, an anatomy class. Personally, I transferred in from community college, so I didn't really make that many connections with my community college professors. I feel like it's a lot easier in the university setting to build that repertoire. But maybe it's an ex-phys professor if you're in the kin department. Just try and find more science-based professor, because I feel like I have heard that that's not weighed higher, but it could look better on you, if that makes sense. Are there any questions on any of this?
And the easiest way like to do it with professors, in my experience, is just to go to their office hours.
Yeah.
Because that's when you can, a lot of these science classes, there's like hundreds and hundreds of kids. So if you want to stand out, you want to make sure the professor remembers you, then just go to their office hours. You get that one-on-one time. Just ask questions about like the material, or just introduce yourself, talk about like why you're taking this class, what your pathway is, and just so that they remember you, and it like makes sense for them to write a letter of recommendation for you, because if they don't know you, then it's really not worth asking.
Yeah, also ask them about, if it's like a research professor, ask them about their research. They love talking about their research. I don't care if you care about it. Just ask them about their research. They'll usually yabble on. So it's like socializing in general. People like to talk about themselves. So ask your professor about themselves too. All right. Any questions on this? All right. So personal statements. This is another part of your application process. I'm not going to go too in detail on this now, because we will be bringing in a senior panel at the end of towards the end of the semester in like April-ish. And she'll be going over what it's actually to write a personal statement, like how much time she put into it, and all those things. But the personal statements are an important part of your application. This is where you get to talk about you and why you stand out as a DPT applicant. There's thousands of applicants every year to especially the state schools. And I think this year Long Beach had like a 2% acceptance rate, and that's not to scare you. However, there's a lot of applicants. This is your time to make yourself shine, right? Like whatever your story is, make it look good. Maybe embellish a little. No, I'm just kidding. I can't say that. But this tells the program why you want to do PT, why you're passionate about PT, and what makes you stand out from other applicants. My biggest advice here is, I haven't written these yet, but what I've been told, give yourself ample time. You are likely going to write a draft, delete it, write another draft and delete it, rinse and repeat 10 times. So just give yourself a lot of time for these. And then I did throw up an example prompt in here. It says every applicant is unique in their own way, possessing individual qualities, abilities, and backgrounds. What unique traits will you bring to the profession that will help you be successful? So pretty broad. Not something that you really need to worry about until you're in the thick of the application process, but just know you do have to write a couple essays. Some schools require, this is the personal statement essay. Some schools require an additional essay just for that program. So just be prepared to write a couple essays per school. So keep that in mind when you're making your list. Don't apply to 20 schools, because that could potentially be 40 essays you have to write. Nobody has time for that. All right. Any questions on this?
Okay, so our mentor-mentee program, so we did open the applications last semester. So if you had already applied, then hopefully your mentor reached out to you, you were assigned one, and then if not, then we're reopening applications for any new members joining this semester, so you can just scan the code. But just like a brief thing for mentors, if you're applying as a mentor, you must be at least in your second year of undergrad and have 1 year of experience in the club. For mentees, you'll be paired one-on-one or in like small group settings with a mentor for more specified help with scheduling classes, preparing for applications, prereqs, and more. So I would really recommend using this resource, especially if you're a mentee, if you're paired with your mentor, like reach out to them, ask them questions. I was a mentee when I first joined the club, and I received lots of good guidance from my mentor at the time. It would just be like a Zoom meeting once like every couple months, but I could just ask him about like what classes I'm to take and professors, what kind of experience I can get, just like everything about the application. And because we're like going through it right now, we've done a lot of research. There's a lot that goes into this. So if you're able to find someone or use us as a resource to help you, it's really going to expedite the entire process. So yeah, definitely reach out if you have any questions. This program just is a way for you guys to get more personalized help.
Yeah. I will say I wish, again, I came from community college, so we didn't have a club like this. I wish in my like sophomore year-ish, that's when I really made the switch to PT. I wish I had like a mentor mentee program to go through because I had no one. I was figuring it out on my own. That's how I ended up taking classes I didn't need and yada yada yada. So if you have like even a doubt in your mind, just sign up for it. Worst case scenario, you don't use us, right? With that said, you can always email and like ask specific questions, or ask more general questions, sorry. If you want more like specific help and like, here's my pathway. What do you think I should take? Because we know counselors are no, they're not helpful. So if you want like more specific advice, I would recommend signing up for this.
Even like just knowing what classes or like what prereqs you should pair together. Should I take this with this professor? Should I wait on this class? Because we've done all of it. So we can really help you guys with that, and we're more than happy to.
Right. Any questions on the mentor mentee program? Okay. All right. So this is pretty much what you guys are in here for. These are the clinical and volunteering opportunities that we have. These are the same ones from the end of last semester. We haven't no one else has reached out to us quite yet. We did post a paid position on the Instagram a little bit ago. So just as we hear about stuff, we give it to you guys. We're not gatekeeping anything, I promise. If you have any specific questions about any of these in general, go ahead and just let us know. This slide deck will be sent to you guys in the follow-up email. That's why it's super important that you're on our email list, because then you get this information. But if you're interested, say you're already at an outpatient ortho clinic, but you're like, hey, I'm really struggling finding inpatient. Trust me, I was there. We do have the PIH Health, that's a hospital, and the Memorial Care. It's right over in Long Beach. It's about, I would say 15-20 minutes from campus. That's also an inpatient clinic. So, or hospital, sorry, it's not a clinic. But yeah, the rest of these are sports or outpatient ortho. How I also found some of my clinical opportunities was I Googled physical therapy clinics, and I searched Google Maps, and some of them are like neuro, some of them are like peds, some say different things. And then you just email them, hey, I'm a volunteer, or I'm looking to volunteer, da, 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 da. I got a couple responses. Most of them didn't respond to me at all, but I got a couple responses. So that's also something you can do if these aren't in a location near you or anything like that. Any questions, comments, concerns? Okay.
Okay, here's a couple more things. So this is another program, UCI Rehab Academic and Mentorship Program, or RAMP. And then that's me right there on the end. This was our cohort. I did this program in summer of 2023. It's a 2-week program, Monday through Friday, 8 to 4:30 p.m. It's in their UCI Douglas Health not clinic, it's like the hospital area. And then they have like another office building where they have like classrooms. So we would have like lectures there. And then we also had an opportunity to shadow different rehab therapists. So I highly recommend this because it's really good exposure to different settings, especially if you haven't had that experience yet. We did outpatient, we did inpatient, ortho, inpatient ICU, burn and wound, acute care and rehab, a lot of niche specialties. So this was a really good opportunity to do that. And as you can see, it's a very small cohort. So you guys get to really bond with like the therapists, also each other, ask each other questions. In the mornings, we'd have like lectures from different rehab specialties. So for this one specifically, it was speech, PT, and OT. Yeah. So So you kind of also get to see how all these specialties work together in these settings, which is really cool. But the application is open now, and it's going to be open through February 23rd. So I highly recommend that you guys check it out and apply. And then you can always come speak to me or Lily for more information. Yeah.
It's like it's weird.
It's going to be over the summer. It's going to be.
Yeah, sorry, that's my bad. I forgot to put the exact dates on there. I believe it's like June 16th to like 2 weeks after that. So it's like the middle of summer. But yeah, if you want more info, go ahead, just come up to us after the meeting and we'll give it to you. Other thing we got going on is the Long Beach DPT program is hosting one of their info sessions. It's gonna be March 7th. It's 9 a.m. You don't have to pre-register, you can just show up. I personally will be there at this one, so if I see you, great. But yeah, this is where the DP2 program itself will go through, give you a bunch of information. And I think it's super useful. You get to meet admissions people and talk to various other people in the field. And yeah, I think it's a really good opportunity to see a little bit more in depth about the program in a way that you can't by just looking at the website. So I highly recommend, if you're free, go ahead and stop by. Like I said, it's free. You don't have to pre-register. If you can't make this one, no worries. There's, I believe, one in May and then another one in June. And then there's a couple in the fall as well. For those of you who are younger, so you're not applying in the next 2 years, honestly, I wouldn't worry too much about it, but it's always good information to know, especially if you're looking to apply to Long Beach, because there's a lot of applicants to Long Beach, so you want to set yourself up as much as possible.
And I went to one of these a couple semesters ago, and after the presentation is done and after the Q&A session, we also got to tour like the PT facilities. So they showed us like a couple of their like movement labs, classrooms. We got to see a couple like PT students in action. So that was pretty cool. So I would suggest going to at least one just to check it out. You know, put yourself out there, see the admissions person, as Lily said, and the Q&A was really helpful because you can ask like a lot of specific things that aren't really on the website, but he'll be able to answer for you. He or she, whoever it is at the time, will be able to answer for you.
All right, so what do we have up next for our club? Next Wednesday, we have set up with Loma Linda University. They are a private university out in like San Bernardino. Is that correct? I'm not sure exactly what city they're from actually, but they have a really good DPT program. So we're gonna be. I'm so sorry, guys. I had no idea. I've been trying to hold it together this whole time, but they are so loud. So Loma Linda is going to be coming out, an admissions advisor. We are going to be sitting down with them, kind of a Q&A session. We can ask them all about Loma Linda's program, what they have to offer, what their program goals are, et cetera, et cetera. You get to learn kind of like the info sessions for Long Beach. We just get to speak to them in a little more intimate setting and get to know more about a program. We will be having a couple more of these throughout the semester. So I know, especially for people on Zoom or for anyone who couldn't make the meeting tonight, maybe Wednesdays work better for you. This is a way you can still be active in the club. So yeah, this one will be next Wednesday in this room at 5:30 p.m. So if you're on campus, go and stop by. It shouldn't be more than like 45 minutes, I would say. But yeah, it's a nice way to get to know another DPT program. Any questions on this? And then past that, like I said, we do have that supplemental meeting next Wednesday. But then in 2 weeks from today is our second general meeting, and we're going to be having a Q&A session with a few student PTs at the Long Beach program here. If you were here last semester, they're going to be different student PTs. So we get a whole new set of stories, how they got into PT, how they like PT, what specialties they're thinking about, and et cetera, et cetera. So yeah, hopefully you guys can join us. It'll be 6 p.m., same time. I will have the Zoom for that as well. So if you can't make it, I'm so sorry, but we'll have that option for you guys as well. Any questions on this? And that is pretty much it for today. Like I said, please make sure that you are following our Instagram. That is where we post everything. And then our email and our Discord is there as well. If you didn't do the new member form, please do. The link tree is posted up there. That'll give you access to the mentor-mentee form. It'll give you access to the new member form and basically everything you need to know to contact us. So yeah, make sure you have just click on that QR code. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Any questions or anything? If you don't want to ask in front of everybody, feel free to come up after. I have no problem. I'm gonna be here for a little bit, so yeah. Anything in the chat? Okay, perfect. All right, I will leave the Zoom open. Well, I only have 6 minutes and 42 seconds. So